What's going on, guys? So a few of you have reached out and have asked me what my settings were on the Fanatec CSL Elite. So this weekend, I decided to do a lap time comparison between the TGT on my left and the Fanatec CSL. And believe it or not, I actually ran a faster time on the Fanatec CSL, which really surprised me because I'm not even used to the Loadcell brake yet, and I was able to consistently run faster times. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the settings that I used and the settings that I kind of came up with to make this wheel feel right. If you do have GT Sport, I want you to look at this, okay? Go to those settings, go to advanced, and right here. So controller steering sensitivity, I changed that to 7. I had that at 0. For some reason, 7 just feels a little bit better. Force feedback torque, I put that to 2. Now this is up to you. You can do 3. I personally think anything over 3 on max torque is a little bit too much because you're gonna have 100% force feedback on the actual wheel. Oh, thank you, Chun Ferris Racing, for subbing. That's kind of cool. I'm making a video on somebody's subs. Well, thanks, man. So anyway, the force feedback torque, keep that at 2, and then you could change it on the wheel. You could change it up or down. I personally think having 100 force feedback on the wheel is better to always keep at 100, and then you can adjust this as you go. Force feedback sensitivity, I keep that at 1, and there's a reason for that. So whenever I changed the value of this up higher than 1, the wheel became very sensitive. It came to the point wherever I turned, it was a bit twitchy, and it was just a little bit too sensitive for me. I didn't really like that. It felt a lot more forgiving being 1. But anyway, guys, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I know you watch a lot of videos where people are talking and running around the bush in terms of getting straight to the settings. So bear with me on with my camera. I'm just using my cell phone. So I'm going to go through each setting with you and tell you what they mean. And I really hope it helps. All right, guys, let's get started. So if you hit this settings menu right here, okay, if you hit that little tool right there, it's going to say S1 on your wheel. So what that means is S1 is settings 1. So if you use this stick right here, this stick, you can go up to S2, S3, all the way to S5. Now what that means is that's settings. So you can have different configurations for different games. So, if you play GT Sport, Assetto Corsa, Project Cars, you can actually configure different settings for those 3 games. So this way you don't have to constantly reset it. So that's what that means. So if you move over, you can move over to the right here. If you move over, it's gonna say Sen. Now what that means is that's your degree of rotation. Okay, I leave mine on automatic. Okay, that's what that means, that AU right there. Automatic, what that's gonna do is it just it works with the game and it just sets the optimal degree of rotation for the game. Now, I don't find this to be perfect, but for Gran Turismo Sport, it seems like it works okay. Something that I find that works for most cars is actually about 52. So I kept around 52, 50. That seems to work pretty well with most cars. If you see when you rotate it, it locks about right there. I'd actually say probably more about 52. So 52. Boom, the lock is about right here. I don't really turn much more than that. So I think 52 is okay, but usually I'm just leaving it on auto because every car is different. So if you use 52 for every car, group 3, group 4 is gonna be a lot different. So it's best just to keep this on automatic unless you wanna specifically do each car. The next setting is force feedback. I really suggest keeping this at 100. And the reason why is because to me, you want to have all the force feedback coming from the wheel, and then in the game, like in Gran Turismo or whatever, you want to adjust the force feedback in the game like less. So what I have in the settings for Gran Turismo, my force feedback is only about 2 or 3, and then it's 100 on the wheel, and that seems to be a pretty good balance. So definitely keep force feedback at 100 here. This is it's called shock setting. I noticed nothing on this. I actually don't think on this rim it's compatible. I don't think it does anything. I have it at 100, but honestly, I don't think it does anything. I felt nothing turning it off or turning it on. So just keep this at 100. I don't really think it does anything if you have this particular wheel. Next setting, ABS. So this is an interesting one. Okay, so I had this off. Okay, I had this off for the longest time when I was doing my reviews. And I finally kind of figured out what this does. So if you put this at 100, you actually will get vibration in your wheel a little bit when you're at full brake. Okay, if you turn this down and let's say you have it, I don't know, let's just say that we put it at whatever, 65. So if you have 65% brake, you'll start getting vibration in the wheel. So it's almost like giving you a sense of when you're braking. So I keep it at 100 because if it's at 100 and I feel like a little bit of vibration in my wheel, I know I'm at full brake. I was running more consistent times having this at 100 instead of having it off. And I know that's strange because it's just kind of like a feeling that you're getting in the wheel, but for some odd reason, having this at 100 made me faster consistently. So I suggest keeping that at 100, but you obviously could just play with that yourself. Next setting is DR1. So this is your drift setting. Now this is this setting right here honestly make or breaks the Fanatec, because I initially always had this kind of plus at first because I thought it was kind of cool that it helped turn the wheel. That is completely what you don't want to do. So this setting needs to be negative. Unless you are actually drifting. If you were drifting and trying to move the wheel really, really fast, you could put this maybe like +2, +3. It's going to help you move the wheel. You see that? You see what it's doing? It's like freaking out like that? Well, it's freaking out because I have that setting to plus. If you turn this off, or if you put it, there we go, let me put it back. If you put it to negative, it's not going to freak out like that. You see now it's not oscillating and going crazy. Once you put this plus and you move the wheel a little bit, it freaks out. You see that? So keep this off or like negative. I like -1. That seems to feel the best for me, but -1, -2, -3, right around that area seems to make the wheel stable and it will not oscillate. So remember that. DR1, your drift setting, that needs to be negative on here. Next, this is your force setting. So I didn't really notice too much here. This kind of reminded me a little bit of force feedback. I guess it's maybe force you're feeling on the road. I kept it at 100 because obviously I want to feel as much as I possibly can when I'm driving. So this way you can like counter anything that happens. I suggest keeping it at 100. It seems like it works fine at 100. Spring, I put this at 80, okay? So what this does, the spring, is basically when you turn the wheel one direction, the spring kind of helps it turn back the other direction, kind of like makes it snap back into dead center. And that's a big deal because if you're taking a turn and you want to quickly go to the right, that spring, that force from the spring is going to help you be able to turn left to right a lot quicker. So I like 80. It seems to work well. This is a really good setting for me, particular because my left arm tends to give me some pain every now and then. So moving quickly left to right, this really, really does help with that. So I suggest definitely turning this on maybe around 80 or so. If it moves too quick for you, you could obviously just turn this off. DPR, this is your damper. I like it at 80 to 100. I just like the way that feels. This is completely subjective. This is up to you. You could play with this yourself. So when it comes to DPR, when you see this, start with 80, and if it feels a little weird, turn it off, turn it back on, and see what you like. This just feels better to me having it around 80 or so. Brake force, this is BRF. This is more so if you have a load cell, okay? I do have a load cell on here. I keep mine very low. It's at 30, and the reason why it's so low is because I use socks when I play, and I'm used to playing with a range pedal because I use the the TGT that's right there, and those are the T3PA Pros. So since I'm used to range, having just brake force set to about 30 seems right to me. It's very easy for me to brake. But if you're wearing shoes, you're probably going to want to bump this up to maybe like 60 or so. This just has to do with how you set this. Like if I hit the brake right now, you see that? So I'm applying, that's like a pretty good amount of pressure, and that's only half. So I could never run 60 with socks. It just doesn't feel right. So if I go back down to 30, and then I can do full brake, all those lights light up, I know I'm getting full brake. So you can kind of like play with it and be like, oh, that feels about right. And then you could just adjust it this way. If you want extremely hard, it's like, I'm really pressing it and I can barely even get full brake at 90. So 30 feels the best for me. Next one is force effects. So this was the main problem when I got this wheel. So my first review when I did this with force effects, this wheel, it was almost like a piece of crap because when I got it, it was rattling. It was oscillating. It wasn't optimized for PS4. It is now. That's why you see that little blue light right there. That means that it's optimized for PlayStation 4 and for Gran Turismo. This setting seems to have fixed a lot. I have FEI set to 40. The higher this value is, the more potential you're going to get rattle from this bass. So if I put this up to 100, this whole thing will rattle and it'll sound like it's a piece of junk or something. So keep this around 40. I don't see much more of a benefit that it needs to be any higher than that. You have plenty of force effects that you can feel through the wheel. You can still feel curbs. You can still feel everything. You can feel the back end slipping out. So around 40 will keep this thing nice and smooth. So anyway, that's it. That's all the settings, guys. That's what I have that's recommended. And just so you know, with this exact setup, with these settings, I was actually able to set about a 1/10 faster on my lap in Gran Turismo, faster than the TGT. And that was literally only using it for about 20 minutes. I have a lot more time in this. So if you guys have this wheel and you're looking into getting a wheel like this, definitely try these settings. I spent some time doing this. I did look at the Fanatec site. I took what they recommended and kind of altered that a little bit. And this is what I came up with that seemed to be the best for me. So anyway, guys, I want to keep this short. I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys next time. So there, guys.